Hey, how's it going? Alex here from IdeaSpot, and in today's WordPress tutorial, you're going to learn how to build and sell an online course using WordPress. We'll be using a free theme, a free page builder, and a free course plugin, so all free tools, and we're going to be doing this completely from scratch. By the end of the tutorial, you'll have a nice, clean, well-designed course website. People will be able to come, join your course, they'll be able to buy the course using PayPal. You can look at other courses on a nice clean course layout grid like this, and existing users will be able to come back and log in through this nice customized login screen. And we're going to be doing all of this using free plugins. So if that sounds interesting, keep watching. Now, this tutorial does start completely from scratch, so it is a bit longer, but I have divided the video into sections using the timeline, so feel free to jump around to the sections that interest you. Basically, we start with our hosting and our domain, then we set up WordPress, then we install our theme and template. So we're going to be using the free version of Astra and the free version of the Elementor page builder. Then we install our course plugin. We're going to be using the free version of LearnPress. Then we add our content, our quizzes and videos, and do a little bit more customization. So that's basically the overview. Our first step will be setting up our WordPress hosting and domain name. Now for this, I recommend SiteGround. Check out that link in the description because you do get a very big discount when you first sign up. So let's go ahead and get started. When you click that link in the description, it will take you here where you can choose your WordPress hosting plan at SiteGround. Now, by far the best value one is this Grow Big plan, their best seller. Now that gives you unlimited websites. So I'd probably go with this one if I wanted to build more than one website. But if you really just need one website, then the startup plan will do fine. But for this demonstration, let's go with the Grow Big plan. So let's click Get Plan. The next step is to choose your domain. Now this is the name of your website. For example, ideaspotdemo.com. Let's try that. If you already have a domain, you can use that if you choose that option there, but let's just try registering a new domain and click Proceed. This bit's pretty boring. We just have to put in our details and our payment information. So let's go ahead and do that. The only thing we really need to pay attention to here is the data center. So by default, it's on the USA. Now the USA is probably the best choice if you're looking at a general English speaking audience. But if your business is specifically targeting a certain location, you can choose something that's closest to your audience. But in most cases, USA will be a good choice. Finally, we've got the period. The period needs to be at least 12 months to get that full discount. But if you want that discount over a longer period, you can spend a bit more upfront and get the discount over 24 or 36 months. But for this demo, let's just go for 12 months. Now, domain privacy and site scanner are both optional. You definitely don't need the site scanner. You can just use the free plugin like WordFence or Security. Check out my earlier videos where I actually do that. And domain privacy, I think it depends on your project, whether you need that feature, whether you want to keep those details private or not. But for this demonstration, I'm just going to leave that unticked. And finally, you need to agree to the terms and conditions. You don't need to agree to receive the newsletter, and then go ahead and click Pay Now. After that's all done, you'll get a success message and you can proceed to the customer area. The first time you log in, you'll get an option here to set up your site. You can also get there through the websites. Either way is fine. Let's click Set Up Site. Now we're going to start our new website. You can actually migrate a website over from your existing hosting if you're transferring over to SiteGround. But in this case, let's start a new website and click Select. Now we're going to be using WordPress. You can also use WooCommerce and WordPress if you know you're going to be building an online store, for example, but let's go with WordPress. You can always add WooCommerce later. It's totally not a deal breaker if you just choose WordPress for now. Now what we need to do is put an email address and a good strong password for our WordPress admin. So let's go ahead and do that. I'd recommend using a different password from the one that you use elsewhere and go ahead and click Continue. Again, it's going to offer to try and sell you the site scanner. You don't need to add that. Just go ahead and click Finish. It's going to say creating your site. This will take a couple of minutes, so be patient. Now we'll get a success message. You're all set. We can go ahead and manage our site down here. So here we are in our dashboard. The first thing I like to do is the security. So let's look at the SSL manager. And we do get free SSL on SiteGround. So we select our domain and select our certificate. I like to go for the Let's Encrypt wildcard. You can go for Let's Encrypt as well, but wildcard lets you add subdomains as well in the future if you want to use that feature. So let's click Get. That'll take a minute to process, and then you'll get the success message saying Let's Encrypt is installed. Let's go to HTTPS enforce now, and let's enforce the HTTPS. You'll get a success message, and then we're good to go. Let's head over to WordPress and install and manage. We can head down to our site that we installed earlier and we can go to our admin panel. It's going to offer us a little setup tutorial. We can just hit exit here. And here we are in our WordPress dashboard. Now, SiteGround has given it this little SiteGround style setup. I like to disable this plugin just to have a normal standard WordPress setup. So I go to plugins, install plugins, and they've got this thing called WordPress Starter. We can go ahead and deactivate that one. The next thing I like to do is go to settings and general, and let's just change our address to HTTPS and HTTPS. So that makes sure that all our new files that we add are going to be secured with SSL as well. So let's scroll down and click Save Changes. Because we just changed the address of our site, it's going to ask us to log back in. So log back in with the password and username you chose when you set up WordPress and click Login. There we go. I'm going to update that in Chrome. And now we can go ahead and install our theme. So let's go to Appearance and Themes. And we're going to add a new theme. The theme we're going to go for here is called Astra. We're just going to use the free version of Astra. So let's search for Astra, click on that and click Install. Once that's installed, we activate. Astra will let us get started with some starter templates, which are really great for when you're building your first website. So let's click Activate on that. Then we're going to go for Elementor as our page builder. Now we can look at these starter sites and filter by free to choose a free starter site. These are called Astra templates, and they give you a really nice base to start from when you're building your website. Now the guys at Astra are always making new starter templates for us to use. So this new one called Mountain is a really beautiful multi-purpose template. So let's try this one for our demonstration. And let's import the complete site and go ahead and click import here. Then we have to wait a few minutes to import all the templates. After a while, it's going to say import is successful. We can go ahead and view the site. Now we can go ahead and start customizing our site. So the first thing I might do is change our logo and have a look at the naming and just the basic site identity. So let's click customize. So here we are in our theme customizer. Let's go over to header and let's go to site identity. Now this is where we can change our logo. Let's go ahead and remove this mountain logo. So click remove on retina and remove on logo. Now we can go ahead and select our new logo. Here we can just drop in our logo. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Okay, now I'm just going to drop my logo in here. There's my idea spot logo. Let's select that one. And we don't want to crop it. There we go. And let's do the same thing for the retina logo as well. Let's select that one and same image. And let's go ahead and make that logo a bit smaller, shall we? So we can change the width of the logo here just by dragging the slider. I think looking like around 75 looks to be about right for this logo. And let's click publish. If you don't have a logo, it's really easy to get a free one. Just head over to canva.com and there's loads of logo templates you can customize for your own purpose. And these look really, really nice. That's how I actually made this one. So very simple and very easy to do. Next thing we can do is change the name of our website. So I'm just going to call it Idea Spot. And the tagline can be Idea Spot Tech Courses, or maybe Easy Tech Courses. There we go. Let's hit publish. So that's the basics of editing our logo and name. Let's go back to this actual front page and work on our header and this background image. So let's close out of this one. We can actually edit all this stuff using Elementor. So let's click that one and the Elementor page builder is going to load up. Now the first thing we might do is change this mountain background into something more suitable for a course website. So let's go ahead and click the section and I'll click got it on that one, and we want to change the style of the section, and that's where we'll find our background image. So this is where we can choose our image. We can choose anything from the media library, or we can upload things into the media library. The other cool option is free images from Pixabay. So you can get free stock photos. So let's say we wanted to search for something course related. So I might type study in here and we could find some cool looking pictures to use for our course. I might use this a bit later, but I think for this demonstration, my favorite way to get free stock images is from pexels.com. So I just searched for study, and these are some really cool looking stock photos related to studying. So I think this one with the girl and the pencil and the laptop Might be pretty cool for our website. Let's have a look at the size, 1920 by 1280. That'll be perfect for a background image. And you don't want to get that original size. It's way too big for a website. Large works perfectly for what we want to do. So let's go ahead and download that one and head back to our Elementor tab here. And we're going to upload that file that we just downloaded. So I'll just drag that one in there and upload that. There we go. And let's insert that one. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now, the thing with using white text on a picture background is that sometimes the white text can be a little bit difficult to read. I always like to make these backgrounds a little bit darker to make the text more readable. So let's go to the background overlay. You can see that there's this gradient that they've used, this blue to greenish aqua color, and we can actually change the opacity of that overlay. So if we drag it over there, it gets darker. If we drag it over there, it gets lighter. So you can see it's really hard to read now, but if we drag it over here, it gets easier. So let's just move it to where we're happy with the readability. I think around 70, let's go for 75, a nice clean number. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. And let's click update. Okay, now changing this text is super easy. All you have to do is click on it and start editing. So I'm going to call this Idea Spot Tech Courses. So let's say Idea Spot, and I'll write Tech Courses here. Tech Courses, and write a little bit of a description here. Let's register today for our easy beginner tech courses. What I might do with these buttons is I could link that to the about page. I could link this one to the registration page a bit later. So let's click that one, and I'm going to rename it. Instead of calling it services, let's call it register. There we go. Let's click update. Okay, so our front page is starting to take shape. Let's have a look and see how we're doing on the actual page. So we can see we've got our logo, our menus here. We haven't done any work on the menu. We can do that a bit later. And we've got our basic buttons and background image all set up. So scrolling down, you can see there's still some more demo content that we can edit using the exact same techniques we used before. But I think now we're at the stage where we can actually start adding our course plugin. So let's get into that. All right, so from here, let's head back to our dashboard, and we're going to go plugins and add new. Now we're going to add our learning management system plugin. So I'll just start by closing out some of those notification boxes. You can say no thanks to these options up there. Now the LMS plugin that we're going to use today is called LearnPress. So I'm going to plug that in here, LearnPress, and search for LearnPress. And there we go, we've got LearnPress sitting right there. Let's install that. If you've watched any of my earlier videos, you'll know I really like LearnPress. I also like TutorLMS, has a great free version. And if you have the budget, LearnDash is really cool as well. But I think LearnPress is probably the quickest one to set up. We don't have to go through a full WooCommerce setup. And you get a pretty good result with LearnPress. So for today, I think let's install LearnPress and click activate. So as soon as LearnPress is activated, you'll get the option here to run the setup wizard. So let's go ahead and do that. Here we are in our setup wizard. Let's click run. By default, it's in US dollars, and you can customize this as you like. I'm going to leave it as default. I recommend doing most of your business in US dollars if you're working on an English website with an international audience. Let's hit continue. Now the static pages, it says, we can generate the pages automatically just by clicking here, or you could name them yourself and create them, but let's do it automatically and then click continue. And now with payment, we can use PayPal. It gives PayPal in the free version of LearnPress as a payment gateway, so that's really cool. Let's go ahead and set this up. So we want to enable PayPal. We want to pop in our PayPal email address. Make sure you've got a PayPal email address. Using a business account works best. Go ahead and click sandbox mode and put a PayPal email in for your sandbox mode as well. So this allows you to actually test the payment system to make sure it's all working as intended before you go live. So once you've done that, let's go ahead and click continue. Now here we're going to enable emails because LearnPress sends emails throughout the process where people register and enroll in classes and things. You get administrator notifications. So we want to enable those and click continue. Now we're almost done with the wizard. If you're just playing around and want to see what this can really do, you can install a sample course and that will let you look around. Otherwise, we can start with a blank course by clicking create new course. So let's go ahead and do that. And it's giving us a notification that our profile page and checkout page haven't been set up yet, and we can click here to set them up automatically. So go ahead and do that if you have the chance. Okay, now here we are at the add new course screen of LearnPress. We can close that little notification so we don't have to worry about getting newsletters. And now we're ready to start creating our new course. But I want to go through a few settings of LearnPress and WordPress before we start doing this. So let's cover a few of these details first. First thing you want to do is make sure you've got registrations enabled. So go to your settings in WordPress, and this is under general settings. So you want to be able to make sure anyone can register to your WordPress site, because LearnPress, your students become members of your WordPress site. So you want to make sure that is enabled. That is often disabled by default on WordPress, and the new default role is a subscriber. So make sure those are set up properly. Scroll down and hit save changes. The next thing you want to check is your permalink settings, because LearnPress works really well with post name, and post name works well with most blogs, to be honest. So if you haven't set your blog as a post name in WordPress, go ahead and do that. If you have your WordPress site set up using something else, you may want to set up a fresh site to do LearnPress. And I actually recommend, if you're running a online course, then I think set up a fresh WordPress website anyway, because you're going to be using student users, you're going to be having maybe other instructors, and the actual LMS is going to interact with your WordPress theme. So it's just better to have a nice, fresh, clean install to do this kind of job. Anyway, let's click Save Changes if you haven't saved those already. And then let's head back to LearnPress. And we are going to look at the settings. So most of these settings can probably be left as default, but let's just go through a few of these things. So logout redirect. When people log out, let's just send them back to the home page. Let's go ahead and click save on that one. Now let's check out courses. I like all of these as they are. The only thing I might change is the single course permalink. I'd like to have that set as course, but apart from that, I think it's all pretty good. Click save. Next, let's look at profile. So by default, the profile page is called LP profile. Let's go ahead and edit that, make it a bit cleaner. Let's call it maybe course profile. So I'm going to call it course profile, and the permalink, we can just call that course profile here. I think that looks a bit neater. There we go. Let's head back to our dash. The other thing I like to change here is enable the login form if the user is not logged in, and enable the register form if the user is not logged in. And that will obviously just do those things on the profile page. So let's save those settings. Now let's go to payments. Again, the default name is LP checkout. I think it's just done that because it might cause a conflict with WooCommerce if you just called it checkout. So I might call it course checkout. You're free to just call it whatever you like, but just make sure if you're running WooCommerce that it doesn't clash with your WooCommerce checkout page. So I'm going to call that course checkout and put course checkout there as well. So let's hit update. There we go. Now, after reloading this, we can see that course checkout is there now instead of LP checkout. Now, besides that, everything else can pretty much stay as is. Enable guest checkout, you can try it. I didn't really like the guest checkout because after someone buys the course as a guest, then you have to go back in and then create a username and password profile for them. I'd rather just enable the registration in the checkout, let them settle that themselves and have that all automatically done. So I think that's all pretty good by default there. The other thing we can do is make sure the payment by PayPal thing is ticked there, and let's go ahead and save the settings. There we go. Let's just check PayPal here. We did that during the actual wizard, but for some reason we've lost our settings there, so I'm not sure why that happened, but we can fill those in again. So just plug your PayPal email, sandbox mode, PayPal email, save settings. There we go. Let's look at pages. We can leave that as is. Emails. all these things can be pretty much left as is. By default, you've got your admin email and your admin username, so you can customize that if you like. If someone else is going to be doing the course administration, you could change to their profile in that position. Let's have a quick look at advanced. All of these things are fine. I think we're pretty much good to go. So let's go back to our courses. There we go. So we haven't added any courses yet, and we can click add new to start adding courses. So let's do that. And here we are at the add new course screen. Okay, so for this example, let's just say we're making a WordPress training course, and we'll just put our title in there. And the first text area is where you just put a little bit of an introduction about the course. So let's just put a little bit of info in there about the course and click publish. And now let's go ahead and look at the curriculum and some of these course settings. The curriculum is the structure of your course. So in LearnPress, this means you've got sections, and sections are made up of lessons and quizzes. So let's make a section. We're going to call it section 1 and press enter. And in this section, we can make a lesson or a quiz. So if we click that, we can create a lesson. If we click the clock, we can create a quiz. So let's start by creating a lesson, and let's call it lesson 1 and hit enter. Then we've got lesson 1. We can edit that with the little pencil thing there, and let's make a quiz as well. And let's call that quiz 1. So there we go. Let's hit update. And we should see our lesson 1 and our quiz 1. So let's go ahead and start editing our lesson 1. So let's click edit, and we can start editing our lesson. Let's start by putting in a little bit of lesson content, and then we can also add media to our lesson. So with that button, we can add pictures, and we can actually add videos as well. So adding media, we can add media from our media library. So I might just try adding this girl in there and go ahead and insert that in. I might actually have a larger size. Let's make it a bit bigger. There we go. Maybe that's a little bit big. Let's just make it a nice size, and then let's center it. Okay, now let's click update. Now you can also add video to these lessons as well. So if you were to add media, and you can insert from a URL, so you can actually link to, say, an unlisted YouTube video or a Vimeo file on vimeo.com. And you could host your lessons by posting videos as well. So that can be a really great way of presenting your course. So I think we'll get to that later in the video. Let's just continue on setting up LearnPress and make sure everything's working properly. And then let's get to the video content towards the later stage of this tutorial. Just going to go ahead and click update. Make sure you click update regularly, just to make sure your lessons and quizzes and things are all set up properly in the database. There are a few things we can cover on the lesson. You can actually make the lesson a certain length of time, or you can just set it to 0 to have an unlimited amount of time. And preview lesson means that the student can view the lesson without taking the course. So maybe you might want to make the first lesson a preview lesson, and that might help you actually get more students enrolled if they can preview the first lesson. But I'm going to leave that unticked for now. I'm going to untick allow comments as well. So otherwise you'd have the comment box at the bottom of the lesson. That might be useful if you've got a paid class and you want people to be able to leave comments, but otherwise just leave that unticked. So then I'm going to update that. So let's go back to our courses. There's our WordPress training course. Let's go back to editing that course. And there we go. There are a few things we didn't cover actually in the course settings. So let's just cover that quickly now. So the course has a duration. By default, a student has 10 weeks to complete the course. You can change that to whatever time frame you'd like. Let's just change it to 52 weeks, giving the student a full year to complete the course if they want. You can limit the number of students that can be enrolled and the number of times people can retake the course. By default, that's 0. Let's give the students 1 chance to retake the course. The rest of this we can leave as is. And let's go back and click update. Now there are a few more options we can look at here as well. Assessment. By default, the assessment is done via lessons, so students just have to complete the lessons to complete the course. You can change that and say they have to pass the quiz to pass the course, or you could choose some of these other options here as well. So I'm just going to leave that as evaluate via lessons, but you're free to set that according to your own preferences. Now pricing, I think for the first example, let's do a free course, and then later on in the video, let's show you how the actual pricing works. And no requirement to enroll. If you tick that, that will make your course public. So that might be a good way of promoting your courses by offering like a short free course that doesn't require anyone to enroll. but let's untick that. And at least if it's a free course, at least people will have to sign up with their name and email. So at least get some contact information from your prospective clients. So let's leave that unticked for this example. Now, review logs and author can be left as is. The last thing is let's turn off the allow comments there as well. So I think we're pretty good to go. Let's go ahead and click update. The only other thing was this looks a little bit plain. We may as well just add another image here as well. So let's go back to our add media. Let's grab something from our media library, shall we? Let's try grabbing some free stock images for this example. So I'm going to type study in there and go ahead, click enter, see what we get. So let's go with maybe this little workshop. Looks pretty good. And then let's go ahead and insert this into our media library. Click save and insert. That will download the image into your media library. Now we can insert that into our post. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller and center it. So that looks a bit better. Now let's click update. Now we've pretty much covered most of these settings. One other thing that's good practice to do is set a featured image for your course. Let's go ahead and choose that girl from the heading as our featured image. Let's go ahead and click update. That's so if we have multiple courses and we wanted to display them as a grid, for example, they could all have their own featured image. So that's all set up and ready to go. We can actually preview and see how this looks so far. So here we go. There's our featured image. This is the WordPress training course. We've got some breadcrumbs and the student count. I'm going to show you how to remove those with CSS a little bit later. And those is the introduction and this little image that we put in there before. And if we click curriculum, we can see we've got one lesson and one quiz. These are locked because we're not enrolled yet. And in the instructor tab just has your profile picture and your username there. So let's go back. I'm going to show you how you can turn that off if you want a bit later as well. And we can customize this a little bit more. I actually think this looks better without the featured image. It looks a bit more clean if the title was actually at the top. The featured image, we can still use it on grids and things, but we might turn it off on the actual course page. So let's go back to our course and go back and let's actually disable the featured image there. Let's go ahead and click update. Now when we reload our course page, let's see how that looks. So that looks a little bit cleaner. Like I said, I'm going to remove those couple of things later, the breadcrumbs and the student count. And let's just clean this up, make it a bit more minimalist. But I like how it's all progressing so far. Okay, let's see about removing those things. And we can also do some work on our footer as well, because we haven't touched that yet either. So let's go to our theme customizer up there. I'm going to open that in a new tab. Let's wait for that to load up. First thing I'm going to do is remove those breadcrumbs and that student count. So let's go to additional CSS. I'm just going to paste in some CSS that I made to remove those things. I'm going to share those in the description. I'll just put a link there. We can go to my blog and you can get that bit of code for your theme and paste that into the additional CSS. That'll clean up the page a little bit more, but you can remove the breadcrumb with that section. Display the students, you can turn the student count off with that one, and you can remove the instructor tab with that one there. So let's go ahead and click publish. Now looking at our footer, in most cases, your theme will control the footer through the footer widgets and footer bar. But in this case, it looks like the footer has actually been designed in Elementor. So we can go ahead and edit those Elementor blocks. Let's have a look at that now. So to do that, let's go back to our site and you can hover over edit with Elementor and get to your footer through there. You can also get there through your dashboard if you go to your appearance and header and footer blocks there in your dashboard. Either way, we'll get you there. You've got a site footer under Elementor there. We can go ahead and edit with Elementor. So let's go and load that one up. So here we are in our footer. It's just like editing anything else in Elementor. I think for this tutorial, just to simplify it, I'm just going to delete that whole block and just have a nice simple footer, copyright by IdeaSpot. It doesn't need to say powered by IdeaSpot. I think that's all good. Let's just leave it like that. Nice and simple. I might center it, to be honest. That might look a little bit cleaner. There we go. Hit update. Let's head back to our course page and see how that's turned out. I'm going to reload this. So we've got our breadcrumbs and student counts all gone. The instructor tab is gone. And down the bottom, we've just got a nice clean footer. So I think sometimes less is more. A nice simple website is less distracting, easier to use, a better experience in a lot of cases. So I'm quite happy with how things are going. So we've got our course page and we've got one lesson done. We started setting up a quiz, but we haven't actually added any questions. So let's keep working on our quiz. So let's go back to our course. Let's go to quizzes and let's go ahead and look at this quiz. Let's edit the quiz. There we go. Now this is the same concept as before. We can add a little introduction to our quiz, but then we have to add questions to our quiz. So let's create a new question. So let's call this question, is WordPress awesome? And then we can add we can say true or false, multiple choice, or single choice. So true or false is obviously true or false. Single choice means there'll be a list of choices and you have to choose the correct one. Multi-choice means there's a list of questions and answers and you can choose multiple answers. So let's call this one a true or false question. And is WordPress awesome? I would say that's true. 1 mark for the question. You can put a little bit of information in there about the question, a bit of content. Let's put in a little bit of content for the question. There we go. And some explanation for the question and maybe even a hint for the question as well if someone wants to click the hint. So we can fill that in with a bit of filler content just for this demo. And so that all looks pretty good. We can now create another question. Let's say, have you subscribed to IdeaSpot yet? See what I did there? Let's make this a single choice question, and with 3 options we can say yes. Second one can be I already am, and the third option will be not yet. But definitely subscribe if this has been useful, and click like as well. I really enjoy making these tutorials and I hope you like watching them anyway. So besides that, we can fill in these areas here with the hints and the background and things for these questions. So each question can have their own question content, explanation and hints. So that looks all good. Let's go ahead and let's update that. So there we go, we've got 2 questions, we've got a bit of a introduction there. So the quiz looks all pretty good. Let's have a look at the actual quiz options here actually while we're here. So you can show the list of questions while you're doing them as ordered, so leave that ticked, I think is good. You can review the questions after completing the quiz. I think that's worth allowing the student to review the questions, show the correct answer. I think, yeah, may as well. You can show it to them then, or you could go through it with them later, up to you. Duration, if you want the quiz to be unlimited time, you could set it to 0, but otherwise you could make a time limit on the quiz. Let's make them do the quiz for 120 minutes. That should be plenty of time to answer 2 little questions. Anyway, you could deduct points if they get things wrong and set the passing grade. So 80% to pass is the default. You can make it 100% or whatever you like. And they can retake the test, or you could set it to 0 and they can't retake the test. So let's let people retake the test 1 time, for example. Finally, these ones, you can actually check the answer during the test if you wanted to let people check the answer while they're doing it. Maybe that was just like for a practice exam perhaps. So you could set it to 0, which disables it obviously, which is the default. You could make them unlimited checks with a -1, so you could always check the answer, or maybe you could let them check the answer maybe 4 times during the quiz. So you could set it to 4. I think leaving it 0 works pretty well in most cases. And the same with hints. You could have unlimited hints with -1, no hints with 0, or you can have a limited number of hints per quiz. So let's set that to 5 for hints, for example. I might just try out and let's have a look at how the hints function actually works in practice. So let's go ahead and click update. There we go. So I think that's the basis of setting up a course with a quiz. So these are all the skills you really need to use this plugin. So let's go ahead and look at our course and let's do a quick run through and see how it all works in practice. So let's go ahead and view that course. There we go, our WordPress training course. We've got our overview, our curriculum. It's free to enroll at the moment. Let's go ahead and enroll, see what that's like. I'm already logged in, so we can go straight into the class. And let's start with lesson 1. So here we are in lesson 1. The student can just go ahead and read it. When they're finished reading, click complete. Do you want to complete lesson 1? Okay. Then we're on to the quiz. I've noticed that these headings are all lowercase. I think that's theme related. We can have a look at that after the quiz, I think, but I'd like to fix that up, I think. Let's go ahead and click start. So we can read about the quiz. The time starts ticking. So remember we set 2 hours for our quiz. Is WordPress awesome? It is awesome, that's true. We can add hints there like we did in our setup. So we can read the explanation and the hint. And there we go. And we can go to our next question. Have you subscribed to IdeaSpot yet? I hope you have. And then we can go ahead and click yes. And then we can go ahead and click complete. Do you want to complete the quiz? There we go. And we've got 100%, so it looks pretty good. If we didn't get 100%, we could redo the quiz. We've got 1 redo, and we can set how many redos you want in those settings, of course, as we did before. But there we go. Now we click finish course. Do you want to finish? And we're all done. We have finished the course, WordPress training course. We can actually retake the course. You can allow them a certain number of retakes if they want, but that's really all there is to it. But I really think those lowercase headings are bugging me, so I might just fix that up right now. So let's go to our customizer, load up our theme customizer. So I'm using Astra. Now this is going to be under global typography and headings. So we've got Montserrat family headings, and by default they are lowercase. So let's just say we want no text transform on those headings. So I'd like them to be whatever I type would be good. H1, they've set them as capitalized headings, and then the other ones just inherit from the top one. So I think that's okay. Let's just hit publish on that and see if it's a little bit nicer. If I were to go back to our actual quiz and reload, what actually does that? Yeah, it looks a bit better. So the I is a capital I now, the C is a capital C. So I quite like that a bit more. So we've seen how a free course works. Let's look at how a paid course might work. So let's go back to our courses. So back in our dash, let's hit courses. We can actually just duplicate the course we already made, and let's edit that course and make it a paid course. So I'm going to click duplicate, and there we'll get our WordPress training course copy. So rather than call it copy, let's call it WordPress training course Pro. That sounds pretty good. People will definitely pay money for the Pro version. So let's hit publish. Now all we have to do to make this a paid course is go down to our pricing. So let's make it pricing. Let's just make it, for this example, let's just charge, I don't know, maybe just 10 cents. And that's all we really need to do. Go ahead and click update. There we go. So Training Course Pro, let's open that in an incognito window and see how that works at the moment. Now I used incognito, so I'm not logged in. So someone looking at this web page for the first time, what would it look like? What would the actual sales thing look like? So there we go. We've got our 10-cent course, and we can click buy this course. So when we buy this course, we can see that we've got a chance to log in if you're a returning customer, or register if you are not yet a customer. Now, I think we can do a little bit better with this page. I'd like the login and the register options to be a bit clearer for the user, so this flow is a little bit more intuitive. So let's work on this, customizing this a little bit. So to customize that, all we'd want to do is go to our theme customizer. I'm going to do this with custom CSS. So let's open that customizer up in a new tab. And then we're going to go to additional CSS. That's the CSS we put in before to customize the course page. Now I want to customize that checkout page. Now what I've done is made some custom CSS to make those login and register links pop out a little bit more and make the interface a little bit more intuitive. So I'm going to pop that in there. I will share that in the description so you can go and get that code as well. But let's just hit publish. Now back on our checkout page, let's reload and see what that looks like now. So that looks a lot more intuitive, I think. If I was coming here for the first time, it's a lot more obvious that I need to click register, given that I've got a nice teal colored button there. So quite like that. You'll notice that in that code, I set the register button to be extra large and I set the login one to be large. I just thought it'd be better to emphasize the registration for new users, but feel free to play around with those styles however you like, but that's how I thought it looked good. Obviously, if you're not using this teal color on your website, I've set it to teal. You can choose any color you want in that position as well. You can use an HTML code and pick any color under the sun. So totally up to you. So anyway, back to our registration, we can go ahead and register a new person for the class. The new user would just type in their new username. So maybe I could be Lisa Simpson, and I'll just put the email address in here. So just pop an email address and a password in there and click register. So now we'll be at our course checkout. We're logged in, we can pay with PayPal, we can go ahead and place our order. That will process. And it will ask us to log into PayPal. So that is basically all there is to it. All they do is log into their PayPal account and pay for their course. Now, because we're just using a PayPal sandbox to test with, we can put our PayPal sandbox email in there and we can test this without actually doing a transaction. If you've never done this before, if you've got a PayPal business, you can just go to developerpaypal.com/developer/accounts and you can make a sandbox account. So I've gone ahead and done that already, but I'm not going to show you the full process of doing that in this tutorial, but I just want to show you how this actually works on the LearnPress website. So that's just a PayPal sandbox email I generated. Let's go ahead and click next. And now we just have to put our PayPal sandbox password in. There we go, click log on. And that will let us complete our transaction. We can just go ahead and click pay now. There we go. And then we can return to the seller's website. There we go, and our order has been received. So LearnPress will automatically email the student, and you can also click the link there and access your course, or you can go through the, say the menu of your website can be set up to access the course as well. I'm going to set up the menu a little bit later as well, so you can access the courses through there. But here we are. Now that we've paid for the course, we can go ahead and start our lessons, do our quizzes, whatever we want. So that's how a paid course works. I think now what we'll do is set up that header menu now that we've mentioned it, and let's make a page for all of our courses so people can easily get back to their courses. And maybe let's make this button here a login button so students can come back and log into their courses. So let's go ahead and get started on that. So back on our dashboard, let's go to pages, and we can see all the pages that we've got on our website so far. And LearnPress actually generates a page called courses. If we go ahead and view that, we can see that our courses are here, our featured images are the thumbnails, and we've got a little bit of detail about each course. We can see that Astra uses an archives header for this heading, so you're going to want to customize that. And I also want to change my username because I never set up a proper display name for my username when I made this website. So let's look at that right now. So back in our dashboard, let's go to users and all users, and IdeaSpot class is there. Let's go to edit, and our nickname is going to be IdeaSpot. And I want to publicly display the name as IdeaSpot. I think that'll look a lot better on that course page. There we go. If I go back to those courses, let's reload that. There we go. So we've got IdeaSpot as the author there. There's the pro course, the 10-cent pro course, and the free courses right there. Now let's go ahead and try and customize that heading. So to customize this heading, I do have to go ahead and override the theme in CSS. I actually had to search Stack Overflow to find this code, but popping that in there, I've just made it courses. It looks a little bit cleaner. So I'm a lot more happy with that course page, and every time you make a new course, it's automatically going to be added to this page, just like you'd add blog posts to a blog. All we have to do is don't forget to hit publish, and let's go back to our main menu. So now what I'd like to do is customize this top menu, and I'd like to put the courses on that menu. So let's go to menus and the navigation menu. So there we go, we've got home, about, services, and contact. Now I would like to customize this a bit, so I'm going to add items. What I want to do is remove that one, services, and I do want to add courses there. So that looks a lot better. Let's hit publish. Now that will take us to our courses page so we can see all of our courses. Now this works good if you've got lots of courses because it's got 3 columns, and if you're looking at it on a mobile, it's got 1 column, a tablet, I think it's got 2, and on a desktop it's got 3. But if you don't have that many courses, maybe don't bother using this course setup. You could probably just make your own course page design in Elementor and just show that you've only got 1 or 2 courses, for example. You could design this however you want it to look. I might actually do that on the main page a bit later, so stay tuned for that. but let's work on customizing this header a little bit more. The other thing I might do is change that take action and make it a login button. So after people have bought things, they know where to come back to log into their course. So let's go back here and let's go and find that option. So in Astra, this will be under header and primary menu. There we go. There's take action. I'm going to call this one login and hit publish. And I need to find the link to send this to. I think it needs to just go to the profile page. So let's figure out where that is. So that should be under LearnPress settings and pages. And if we look at the pages that it generates, I think there's one called course profile. That should be the correct one. Let's view that. So course profile, if you've logged in, it'll show your course profile. If you're not logged in, it should show your actual login page. So there we go. I'm logged in as Lisa Simpson on this one. Let's log out. There we go. So let's have a look. There we go. So we could make the login page take us to here where people can log in or register if they haven't registered already. So let's use that link and let's go back to our customizer. This is the link we want, /course profile. So let's publish that one. There we go. Now the other alternative, instead of linking to the course profile through that login thing, what we could do is design a totally custom login page in Elementor and link to that, and that might look good as well, but I'm going to save that to later on in the video, so keep watching. Now this will probably look better if that had a different featured image, so let's fix that up right now, shall we? Let's go back to our dashboard and let's go to our LearnPress Courses and let's edit the pro version and change the actual featured image to something else. Let's get these people there. There we go. And let's update that one. And given that it was 3 columns, let's just make 3 courses. So where's our courses? There we go. And let's duplicate that one. Instead of calling it a WordPress course, let's make this one a e-commerce course. E-commerce course pro. That sounds pretty cool. There we go. And we'll change the image. Let's grab a free image and let's look at maybe commerce. See if there's a good picture. There we go. Oh, that one with the stocks rising up. How about that? Let's select that, save and insert. And there we go. Let's hit update. Cool. Now let's have a look at how this web page is actually shaping up now. So I'm going to go ahead and view this site. Let's open a new incognito window. Have a look at it as a fresh user. So there we go. We could log in there. That allows us to log in or register if we haven't registered already. We can go back to our home, which looks like that. I might actually link that to the registration, or maybe I could link it to my blogging course maybe. And courses takes you to our course page where we can see our 3 different courses that we've got. So all looking pretty cool. This one, I see that the aspect ratio is a little bit different. I might fix that up to make them all even, but if you use the similar size image for each one, you shouldn't get that issue. If you did want to fix up the aspect ratio on that image, I'll show you how to do that right now. So let's go to our dash and let's open that course. So that was in our LearnPress Courses, and I think it was WordPress training course. So let's edit that one. There's our featured image, and all I want to do is edit that image. Now I'm pretty sure the other images are 920 by 1080 and this is 1280. So we could just change that to 920 by 1080. To do that, we just put in our new ratio. So we have to hit crop first and then put in the new size there. That'll give us our new crop factor, and we can choose which part of the image we want to show in that ratio. Let's just keep it there and then let's hit crop. And that'll save. We can click save there. And then we just set that as our featured image. There we go. Now when we look at our course page and reload it, we can see all the images nicely line up So that looks a lot better. And if someone wanted to go ahead and purchase a course, they could go ahead and click one and go ahead there to buy the course. And new customers can register. They can register there, set up a username and a password. Let's do that now. So we want the Bart Simpson and idea spot class plus Bart at gmail.com. Let's just make up a quick password for this one and click register. And there we go. And it'll take you to your checkout where you can place your order with PayPal. And then you go through that PayPal process. I'm going to go ahead and pay again. There we go. Pay for the course. Pay now. There we go. Now we can return to the seller's website. And we can either use that link there. We can go back to our courses here and access our course that we just bought. Instead of, which one did we actually buy? We bought the Pro Train. There we are. This is the one we bought. So you'll be able to access that. The ones that you've bought, you can access the actual course. And if you haven't bought the course, you'll only be able to access that front page with the buy option. So that's how that all works. Now let's go back to our homepage and let's do a little bit more work on this homepage. So back on our main page, let's view that site again as the admin and let's edit that on Elementor. So let's just say we were really focusing on having one course. So let's say we wanted to focus on that e-commerce course. So let's go ahead and get the link for that e-commerce page. So that was this one here, e-commerce course pro. And instead of registering, let's go and make this join. And let's link it to the e-commerce course page that we got previously. And let's call this ecom courses. There we go. Let's update that. And so say you only have one course, rather than having a full course grid with those 3 columns, let's just focus on the main splash page and then we can go ahead and they can send them straight to the course. And I think that might be a better situation for some people who are just focusing on the one course. So let's go ahead and view that page. There we go. And then we could go ahead and join the course there. It would send you to your e-commerce course page and then you could buy the course like that. So that's another way of doing it, a little bit cleaner, a little bit more streamlined. So if you're just focusing on one course, you could do things like that. Otherwise, you could use that course grid that we went through before. So totally up to you. I think this website is working pretty good. You've seen how everything works. I think the last thing we have to cover is how to add video to your courses. So let's try adding some video to our lessons. So let's head back to our dashboard under LearnPress Courses and let's edit that e-commerce course. So we want to edit one of the lessons that we made. So we'll go to lesson 1 there and click edit. That'll load up our lesson editor. So let's try adding a video to this lesson. So there are 3 ways I'm going to show you to start with. So there are self-hosted video, and YouTube, and Vimeo. So I'll show you how to do all these 3, and later on I'll show you how to do a Dropbox hosted video as well. So stay tuned for that. So let's go through these. So the most straightforward method, self-hosting a video, what you do is go to Add Media, and you can upload files. You can upload a short video to your website. Now, in my case, I'm limited to 128 megabytes maximum upload file. So if you're on shared hosting, you'll probably have some kind of maximum upload limit. So that's really going to restrict the amount of video you can put onto your site. But it might be okay. If all you need is a 1 or 2 minute video, you could get away with that. But if you're on shared hosting, I really don't recommend hosting or trying to host long videos on your website. But that's quite straightforward to do. You can pop a video in like that. Now the next method is YouTube. So same thing, go to Add Media, but in this case we're going to insert it from a URL. So all you have to do is pop in a YouTube link there and it will embed your YouTube video. So you can pop that YouTube video in like that. So that can work reasonably well, especially if you're using unlisted YouTube videos. You can pop them in your course. I think this is a good way to embed if you're working on a free course. If you're working on a paid course and you really want secure video, now YouTube's not really going to be that secure because people can still share those links and they can still add the links to playlists and things. So it's not the most secure way, but I think for a free course, it's probably a decent approach to adding video to your course. Next up, we've got Vimeo. It's a really similar process. We just go to Add Media and we insert the URL into our page, and there we go. We've got our Vimeo file in there too. So Vimeo, a little bit more clean, and if people are viewing this on a mobile device, they're much less likely to have the Vimeo app than they would have the YouTube app. If they have the YouTube app and they're viewing it on a mobile, it's going to take them off your website and put them onto their YouTube app. So you may actually end up losing traffic to your blog or website through YouTube. So I think if you were trying to promote your page and get free traffic, that can be okay if you're using YouTube, but if you really are wanting to do a professional course, then I probably wouldn't be using YouTube. You'd want to look at Vimeo. You could start with the free version and then have a look at the pro version if you need more space and better privacy. So let's go ahead and click Update and have a look at how these actually look in practice on the lesson. Before we do that, I'll show you a plugin that's really helpful in this situation. It's called RV Advanced Video Embedder. It gives you lots of options for embedding your videos in the course. So I've already installed and activated that one. You just search for RV Advanced in your search bar, install and active, and then go back to our lesson here. And particularly with YouTube videos, this is really helpful because when you play a YouTube video, what happens at the end of the video is it's going to play suggestions. And if you're using this RV plugin, you can leave it totally blank. You can get a much cleaner experience for your viewers if you're using that RV plugin. Also with the Vimeo files, it does clean up the header there, makes it look a little bit more simple. It doesn't get rid of the logo, which is a shame. If you get the Vimeo Pro, you can actually get rid of that logo and you can implement privacy controls, which is probably the best way. If you're doing a paid course and you want it to be really professional, I would recommend that $7 plus plan. You get 250 gigabytes a year to upload, and that you can do a lot of courses with that, and you get complete control over your privacy of your courses as well. So that would be a good way to keep things restricted to paying members. Now finally, the cool thing that you can do with RV is actually stream Dropbox files. So you can upload a file onto Dropbox and paste your link in there. By default, it's got that little bit at the end of your link, the DL equals 0. We can delete that off, delete the question mark. We just want the MP4 file. And we're going to wrap that with a shortcode. We can type RV URL equals the URL with quotes around it and then close that bracket off. Now we hit update. So that should all work pretty good. In the editor, you'll still see the shortcode, but in the actual course, if we have a look at that course, we can go down and we can see, I'll have to reload this one so the Dropbox video appears. There we go, Dropbox. Now this looks perfect. There's no branding, there's no links to other videos. It's all completely private, and it's only available to whoever you share that link with. It's not completely unlimited on Dropbox. I think the free version, you can share the video up to 25 gigabytes per day, but that's still quite a generous allowance. So if you're just getting set up, this might be a good way to get a few videos onto your website with good performance and without costing you anything. But I think later on, if you've managed to sell a few courses on your website, probably upgrade to that Vimeo Plus plan that gives you full privacy controls. That's probably the best way to get a big storage allowance and basically unlimited file transfers to your students. So that's incredibly good value. So back to our lesson, I think probably the best option was actually the Dropbox one. So I might actually delete out these other ones. Delete Vimeo, delete YouTube. I do think YouTube is the best if you're running free courses and you want free traffic, because YouTube will generate traffic by itself as well. So YouTube is pretty cool in that regard, but if you're using a paying course, definitely you don't want that YouTube branding and you don't want visitors leaving the course and finding other courses related to your course on YouTube. It's not a good way to do things. So I'm just going to leave that link to Dropbox on our video there. And let's go ahead and click update. So before we wrap this up, there was just one thing I kind of wanted to work on, because on our main page, if we go to login, I wasn't entirely happy with this being our login. Actually, let's look at on the incognito page, because that is the view that a new user would get if they tried to log in. So you'd get this page. I don't think the design of this is particularly good. You could style it yourself with CSS, but that's going to be a lot of work. If I go back home, let's actually make a nice login and registration page using Elementor. So let's get started on that. So back in our dashboard, let's go to pages and let's add a new page. And I want to call this one course login, and we'll go ahead and publish. There we go. And let's edit that in Elementor. Let's wait for Elementor to load up here. Now, to add a login to a page in Elementor, if you're using the Pro version, you can just use the element that's built in. But if you're using the free version, I'll show you a plugin that can actually do it for free. So let's try that. Let's go to Add Plugins and search for one called Login with Ajax. And then you install and activate that one. And this is super easy to use. It makes a shortcode that's just called LWA. So all you do is go back to your Elementor page and pop in a shortcode with LWA on it. So shortcode, let's drop that in there, and let's put that LWA on there. So that's your shortcode, and it will show you your profile. So let's do that a little bit more interestingly. So I'm just going to delete out this bit there. Now what I'll do is I'll open the main page in Elementor, and I'm going to copy this same heading section and use it for our login page. So let's copy that, go back to our login page, and let's paste in that so we can copy the same style. I will delete the actual middle part out of this section. Now we can go ahead and put our shortcode in here. So let's grab a shortcode widget, drag that in. This one is called LWA, so that's login with Ajax. Hit apply and hit update. So by default, it doesn't look too amazing. Let's actually give that a little bit more style. So let's change the background color for a start. Let's make a white background on there. Give it a bit of transparency. I kind of want to give that some padding around it as well. So let's give it, say, 50 of padding. And I think that'll look better. I think actually when you load the page for real, it is centered. So let's have a look what it looks like for real. So this is basically how it would look for a new user. So that definitely looks way cleaner than what LearnPress gives us by default. So that didn't take us too long to set that up. I might actually put a little bit of information here to make it a bit more intuitive, and maybe make the background a bit more closer to white, because I think this looks a little bit washed out. So let's go ahead and do that. So back in Elementor, let's look at that section and the style and the background type. So that was white, and I wanted to make it more opaque. Just a little bit of background popping through is okay. I think that's better. Let's hit update. And then let's also just put maybe a heading on here as well. Where can we put that? There we go. So let's just call this login here I'll make it lowercase 2, access your courses. Now hit update. Again, let's see what this would look like to a user of the website who had just found your website. So here we are. That does look pretty clean now. I'm pretty happy with this. So I think rather than linking it to other login page that look like that, I'm much more happy with this. I'm going to use this link, and let's go to our theme customizer and change that button. Okay, back in our theme customizer, I think we needed to go to header, and we were looking at primary menu. There we go, the button links to course profile. Let's change that link. Change it to course login, the one we just built. And let's go ahead and publish that. Now that that's published, users will get a much nicer login screen. So let's have a look at what that actually looks like. So now back on our main page, if we go to login, they'll be sent here. So it's a much nicer setup. So let's test logging in with one of our students. So I'll go in as Lisa Simpson, the one I set up earlier, and it will redirect. And here we are, we're still on our profile page. So what we want to do is actually redirect on login. We want to redirect people to the courses when they log in. So I'll show you how to do that. And the other thing I don't really like is you get the admin bar for the user. So I don't really need that for students. You only really need that for yourself as the admin. So I'm going to show you how to turn off that admin bar. So let's work on that. But first, let's do that login redirection. So when students log in, we really want them to send them to the courses page. So let's go and copy that courses link. I've got mine at dash courses. Let's go to our dashboard and let's go to our login with Ajax. So that's under settings and login with Ajax. There we go. So generally, you want the global login redirect. I'd like that to go to the courses, except if you're an admin, I'd like that to go to WP admin. So I'll just copy the WP admin link there, and then everyone will go to courses except for the administrator. So I think that's okay. Same with logout. I think with logout, we just want to send people just to the home page when people log out. So let's just set that up and click Save Changes. The other thing we wanted to do was turn off the admin bar for the students. So let's work on that. So let's go to plugins and add new. Now you can do it with a very simple plugin. It's just called a hide admin bar. And the one I checked was this one here with 30,000 active installs. There's a few that will do it. All of them are basically the same. It's just a couple lines of code. And I'm just going to go ahead and install and activate that one, hide admin bar. And now when we log in, we shouldn't get the admin bar for the students. If you don't want to use a plugin for this, you can actually go to the LearnPress documentation and they show you how to hide the toolbar from all users except for admin by just editing the functions.php file, but you need to be using a child theme to do that, and then you need to add that code to the functions.php. So for most of you, I think a simple plugin will be quicker, but if you're one of those people who hates adding extra plugins, then go ahead and use this method. So anyway, let's check if everything's working as intended now. So let's go to login. Let's log in as a student there and go ahead and log in. Now this should take us to our course page, and then we don't have any admin bar, and we can also probably access the course that we bought earlier. So that all works perfectly. I think we're ready to wrap things up. Let's go back to our home page and let's just do a quick summary of what we've done. So we've made up a nice front page. People can go, if you want to focus on a specific course, they can go ahead and click join. And for that case, we put the e-commerce pro course on there. You can go ahead and click buy. You go through the checkout. You can register for a new user, set up a username and password, and then it takes you through PayPal. You can also set up that course page, which makes that nice little grid layout that shows all your courses, whether they're paid or free, doesn't matter. And also we made this nice login function for people who have bought a course. They come back, they see that nice obvious button, they can log back in and access their courses. So all looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy. Hopefully it's been useful. Hopefully you can set up a nice course and maybe make a few dollars teaching your knowledge to your students. So thanks for watching. I hope it's been helpful, and I will see you next time.